So, welcome to today's Postgres World webinar, Navigating PostgreSQL End of Life, Upgrade Strategies, and Best Practices. We're joined by Vivek Singh, Principal Database Specialist at AWS, who will discuss how database administrators should face critical upgrade decisions when navigating Postgres End of Life. My name is Lindsay. I'm one of your Postgres conference organizers, and I'll be your moderator for this webinar. A little bit about your speaker. Vivek is a principal database specialist with AWS, focusing on Aurora, PostgreSQL, and Amazon RDS for PostgreSQL engines. He works with enterprise customers providing technical assistance on Postgres operational performance and sharing database best practices. He has over 17 years of experience in open source database solutions and enjoys working with customers to help design, deploy, and optimize relational database workloads on AWS. Welcome. We're so happy you're here.
Thanks, Lindsay.
A few quick housekeeping notes for our audience, and then we'll get started. So the first is I've put all attendees on mute to avoid background noise and preserve audio quality. The second is, yes, we are recording this, and it will be accessible on the Postgres conference website by early next week. And finally, my favorite is that questions are encouraged, and they'll be answered throughout the session. You can ask questions as they come to you through the chat function that you'll find on the right side of your screen. I think that's it from me, so I will let you take it away. All you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Thanks for the great introduction. So once again, I'm Vivek Singh. I am Principal Database Specialist at AWS. This is my 9th year with AWS, and I am based out of Dallas, Texas. As a part of my job, I work with enterprise support customers of AWS, and I help them for Postgres, Aurora, and RDS PostgreSQL deployment, their issues, and evangelizing PostgreSQL. Apart from that, I am active member of community PostgreSQL also, and I help PostgreSQL conferences and events too. So with that, let's learn about PostgreSQL end of life. What are the best practices to upgrade your databases? What does it mean by PostgreSQL end of life? And then we'll also learn about what happens if you don't upgrade your database, PostgreSQL, and some of the key concepts of Aurora and RDS PostgreSQL upgrade. With that, in this hour, we are going to learn about versioning of PostgreSQL and end of life cycles. What is the difference between major and minor versions? Risk of not upgrading. What happens if you don't upgrade your PostgreSQL database even after end of life timeline? What upgrade strategies you can follow in order to upgrade your PostgreSQL databases? How to plan your upgrade? What kind of the pre-planning you need to do? One of the most common questions comes to me about upgrade, that how we can save the downtime. So we are going to learn some of the options by which we can reduce the downtime for a PostgreSQL upgrade. And finally, we are going to learn about benefits of upgrading to PostgreSQL 16. When I started working on this slide deck, 17 was not still generally available, but now you have the option to upgrade straightforward to version 17 also. With that, let's learn about PostgreSQL versioning and end of life cycles. PostgreSQL follows a clear and structured versioning system that's important to understand for database management systems. The version numbers are presented in a major dot minor format, such as 14.0 or 15.1. The PostgreSQL community maintains a consistent release cycle where major versions are released annually, bringing significant new features and improvements. Minor versions released throughout the year focus on critical bug fixes and security patches without introducing new functionality. So that is the important concept in the minor versus major version. Minor version never releases new features or functionality. Each major version receives comprehensive support for 5 years from the initial date of release. You can find the release date easily on PostgreSQL.org page on the release notes, that what are the release dates, and after that it is supported for 5 years. Once a version reaches its end of life, it receives no further updates or security patches, making it crucial for organization to upgrade before this point. For an example, PostgreSQL 13 released in 2025 will reach end of life after 5 years. That means this November 2025. To be specific, November 13th of this year. This predictable life cycle helps organizations plan their upgrade strategies effectively while maintaining secure and supported database environment. The strong community support ensures regular updates and security patches throughout each version's supported lifetime. So make sure, last year PostgreSQL 12 had the end of life. In the same way, Aurora and RDS they add up some more months on the top of that, and Aurora and RDS PostgreSQL had end of life on February 28th of this year. In the same way, for PostgreSQL 13, Aurora and RDS PostgreSQL will give you a few more months, and they will have the end of standard support on February 28th, 2026. That means next year. Now let's learn about major versus minor versions of PostgreSQL. Understanding the difference between major and minor PostgreSQL upgrade is crucial for effective database management. Major upgrades such as moving from version 14.x to 15.0 involves significant changes and require careful planning. They will make sure you have multiple options to do it. You can do by dump restore, or you can use the popular PostgreSQL utility called PG_upgrade, which can lead to substantial downtime ranging from minutes to hours. That is for the major version. And on the other side, minor version is fairly quick, and then the downtime is in minutes basically compared to the longer downtime in major versions. Risk level wise, major version has higher risk level. Reason behind, some of the features might have changed in the major versions. So make sure to go through the PostgreSQL release notes. For an example, if you are going from 13 to 16, I would recommend to go to the release notes of 13, 14, 15, and 16 throughout all these major versions, so that you will understand that what kind of the application changes you need to do in order to upgrade it. On the other side, for the binary version upgrade, it's just the binary refresh and there is no feature added. So risk level is low and the downtime is low too. Compatibility wise, applications may break once you upgrade to the higher major version. On the other side, PostgreSQL minor versions are known to be backward compatible. While talking about upgrade, major versus minor upgrade, let's talk a few points about Aurora and RDS PostgreSQL minor versus major version upgrade. Long back, you were not able to upgrade the replicas for the major version. As per the new feature update in RDS and Aurora, you can also upgrade the replica for PostgreSQL in RDS. You need to have the new custom parameter group if you plan to upgrade to higher major version. You don't need to replace the parameter group for the minor version. Make sure, for example, if you are going to upgrade from 13 to 15, you have a new custom parameter group ready for the higher version. If you use the custom parameter group. Parameter group is the way RDS uses to apply the new parameter changes. For example, the default max connection is 100. You can set it to 1000 in custom parameter group, and then you can attach that one with RDS instance. It requires reboot for the first time. Update data files, minor version, there is no changes in the data files. So there is no touch or there is no migration of the data file. On the other side, in the major version, data files may be changes. Even a PG upgrade may migrate the whole data set from one PG data directory to different Postgres data directory. That is the difference between minor and major version upgrade. I also want to mention that analyze command. Most of the customer, they complain that after major version upgrade, the performance has come down. What is the reason behind? They miss to run the analyze command. In PostgreSQL, analyze command is the way to update the statistics of the tables so that planner will get the fresh stats and it will create a better plan to run the SQL query. So make sure after major version upgrade, run the analyze command. I would recommend to find the business critical tables and start running the analyze command from most critical to less critical, so that it is not going to hit your performance for the long time. With that, let's take a quick break and see that if you have any question. Lindsay, do you have any question from audience?
So far, no questions, but this is a great reminder to get them in via the chat function.
Awesome. Yeah, feel free to ask me any question. I would be happy to answer your any question about PostgreSQL upgrade, specifically if you have any experience with Aurora or RDS or community PostgreSQL. I would be happy to answer your questions. Now let's learn about the risk of not upgrading your PostgreSQL databases beyond end of life. Running an end-of-life PostgreSQL version exposes your organization to multiple critical risks. First and foremost, security vulnerabilities will go unpatched, leaving your data open to emerging threats. Performance limitation of older versions means you will miss out on crucial optimizations and improvements. Compatibility issues also arises for the newer applications because newer applications may not support to the older version of PostgreSQL. Finally, maintaining outdated versions often leads to higher costs due to custom patches, workarounds, and increased troubleshooting time. The PostgreSQL community typically provides 5 years of support of each major version, like we discussed about. So it's very important to plan upgrade well before your version reaches end of life to ensure system security, stability, and performance. For an example, being DBA, if I am managing PostgreSQL 13 databases, this is the best time to plan about upgrade it. Open source community has the end of life on November 13th. So I still have few months to develop the upgrade strategies for my PostgreSQL 13 upgrades. Generally, most of the organization, they start with the upgrading testing environment, staging, pre-prod, and finally prod environment. So make sure to plan timely so that you are not going to miss the new features and you are not going to risk your databases being out of support. Let's learn about upgrade strategies. What kind of the options you have in order to upgrade your PostgreSQL databases? The one and then the which is the most common one, that is PG upgrade. That is the utility tool provided by PostgreSQL community itself. And let's learn about the pros and cons for this one. It is fast for the large databases. It requires minimal downtime. If you use the in-place upgrade, it preserves the database objects and the data, and then it also works well with the minor version upgrade too. On the other side, if you have the large databases, the downtime can go higher. And it could be also complex to test it because there are many options for PG upgrade. So make sure to learn about PG upgrade options. I have a slide after this to talk about some of the key options for PG upgrade. There are most commonly the most popular option is link mode, where you can do the in-place upgrade, or you can do the out of the place upgrade, where it will create a new data directory and all the data would be moved there. Second one, and popular one, that is the logical replication. I remember PostgreSQL 9.6 and before, logical replication was not yet there. So once logical replication was supported by the higher versions of PostgreSQL, we have this method to set up the replication between the lower version and higher version of PostgreSQL. For an example, if you have PostgreSQL 13 as the lower version, there you can create the publisher, and then you can create the subscriber on the PostgreSQL 17 version. That's how you can set up the logical replication. Initially, the base data will be moved from the publisher to subscriber. It will set up the replication. And once you find that there is no replica lag, the data is in sync, you can cut over or you can promote the higher version as the new production database, and then you can point your applications to the higher version. That's how you can do using logical replication, a good way to save the downtime during upgrade. For smaller databases, my favorite option is pg dump restore because it's simple. You can just run the pg dump, save the dump file, and then restore on the higher version. If you are pretty much sure about networking, there would be no networking hiccup. You may also use pg dump all and pipe and psql. That means you are not creating any pg backup, PostgreSQL backup file. On the fly, you are restoring PostgreSQL from the lower version to the higher version. This is the one way if you have smaller databases. Please make sure that for the higher size of databases, it may take longer time. When the logical replication was not a supported feature for PostgreSQL, one of the popular method was Sloaney and Laundry. These are the trigger-based replication systems. Still, people use it because there are certain restrictions or limitations on logical replication. You can always go to postgresql.org and learn about some of the limitations for logical replication. In that case, you may also use Sloaney, Laundry, or Bucardo. These all are the trigger-based replication systems, where for all the data changes, it will it will trigger the change on the replicated side. Once that the data is in sync, you can promote the higher version as your new master database. So we discussed about PG upgrade utility tool. The PG upgrade utility provides several essential options for performing PostgreSQL version upgrades. One of the most commonly discussed item is check flag, which validates the compatibility between versions without making any changes. So that is my first recommendation. If you use PG upgrade, first check the compatibility if your lower version is compatible with the higher version of PostgreSQL. For example, when users were upgrading from version 10 to 12, there were some column changes in PG state PG state statistics, and there were some of the new columns added in the system catalogs. If you had a view depending on these system catalogs, those will fail. For example, there were some data types which were not supported in the higher version also. If you have a table using those data type, upgrade will fail. So it's very important step to run the PG upgrade with the check command. Second one is the link mode. That means the upgrade would happen in the same PG data directory. It will not create a new directory. I would make sure that if the downtime is the issue for you, go with this option. Otherwise, personally, I like to create a new cluster so that the old PG data directory is ready to go for the fallback option. Suppose that the upgrade did not work properly, applications are having some problem. If I have the old PG data directory, I can point application to the old one, and I can still have my business running with the older version. If you want to have the PG upgrade a little faster, you can increase the number of the jobs using the hyphen jobs option. Data directory, there are two kind of the options, that one, the old data directory, and then the new data directory. You can point the directories where PG upgrade will use the data. In the same way, bin directory, old and new, is the way to point that where is my old binaries and where are my new binaries. If you would like to see what's happening with PG upgrade, what kind of activity it is doing right now, I would recommend to enable the verbose option so that you can see that what it is doing right now. I have put it here the example how you can run the PG upgrade. In this example, I am upgrading my PostgreSQL 12 to higher PostgreSQL 11 to 12 with the link and check options. Some of the best practices for upgrading Aurora and RDS PostgreSQL In RDS PostgreSQL or in Aurora PostgreSQL, the easiest way where you can save resources and then where you can avoid complexity, that is the in-place upgrade. What you do that you find out the RDS database, select it and click on the modify, and then find out that which version you want to upgrade. For example, if you have version 13 or if you have version 12, you can select it and select the higher version. Maybe you can go to 13, 14 or 16, and then you can run upgrade. Please make sure that when you run the in-place upgrade and then you opt the apply immediately, it will apply any maintenance tasks waiting on your database instance. So while you do in-place upgrade, make sure that before that you apply any maintenance tasks such as OS patches or anything else. If you are deferring for the longer time, everything would apply in the same upgrade window. One more thing I would like to mention here, that I have seen some customers adding up some of the more tasks in the same maintenance window. For an example, some customers I found that they added up scale compute, like increasing the instance class as well as the upgrade in the same maintenance window. What happens that increasing the instance class for multi-AG RDS database, it will cause the failover. And now the pre-upgrade backup would be happening on the new standby database. That may increase the downtime because of the pre-upgrade backup, because upgrade has never been taken on this new standby. So please make sure that do not mix or match multiple tasks in the upgrade, in the RDS upgrade. Run anything else beforehand and have the upgrade only in the maintenance window. Straightforward, you can use CLI command or you can use RDS Ops console to upgrade it. The disadvantage, I would say, that downtime, that depends majorly on the number of the relations, like number of the tables, as well as the size of the data. I would make sure, one of the best practice I would like to recommend here, that make sure your database is lean. You don't have any unnecessary tables. I have seen some of the databases are bloated because of the dead tuples. So make sure to run the vacuum or PG repack to compact your database and tables, and get rid of any tables which are not which you are not using for your OLTP environment. You may back up in AWS S3 or somewhere else, so that it will have the lean data as well as the number of tables would be less. It will make sure that the upgrade is faster. One more tip I would like to share here, that for RDS PostgreSQL, like I mentioned, that it takes the pre-upgrade backup during the backup window. So what you can do, that before upgrade, you can take the manual backup that will make sure that the database has been backed up manually before the upgrade, and during the upgrade, the pre-upgrade backup would be fast. Second option is a blue-green deployment, which was added as a new feature recently on Aurora as well as RDS PostgreSQL. We will learn more about it via using the diagram and explaining how does it work. Let's see what we got here. We have also option of out-of-place upgrade, where you can use the logical replication or you can use data migration services, Amazon Data Migration Services, also called DMS. This will help you to migrate your database from lower version to higher version. So what happens that while we use AWS data migration services, you can set up the source as the lower version. For an example, if you are planning to upgrade the PostgreSQL 13 to 16, you can set up the source as PostgreSQL 13. Let's have the base data migrated from the 13 to 16 using DMS. DMS is nothing but you can say that the managed logical replication, where you will do the manual steps to set up these replication. DMS does it behind the scene for you. So once you opted PostgreSQL 13 as the source and 16 as the target, it will move the base data, it will apply the wall changes, it will apply the any write activity by applying the write headlocks. And then eventually, once you see that there is no replica lag, there is a CloudWatch matrix also to visualize any replica lag. Then you can upgrade, then you can cut over and make the higher version as your new production database. While you do it, make sure that apply all the cloud native characteristics like security group or parameter group on the higher version. Make sure that that looks the same as your previous database. Second option is self-managed logical application, which also applies in RDS or Aurora PostgreSQL. Some of the customers which I deal with, they have 50 terabyte database or maybe 100 terabyte. So the in-place upgrade may take longer time. That may take up to an hour or more than that. So there are some businesses, they cannot have this much of a downtime. So the option is that use DMS or blue-green deployment or your own managed logical application, test it out because all three options have their own limitations. So make sure to go through the limitations page. For example, if you want to learn about the DMS PostgreSQL limitation, just search for AWS, RDS, DMS, PostgreSQL limitation. You will see the list of the limitations. In the same way, on the PostgreSQL.org, you can find the limitations for logical replication. And also feel free to use Bucardo in the case of RDS or Aurora if you cannot go with those limitations. But please make sure that when you use the third-party trigger-based solutions like Sloney, Laundry or Bucardo, these are the trigger-based solutions. So you need to have the enough resources like CPU, IOs, memory to run those triggers. I have seen that if you don't have much headroom, they may cause production degradation or even outage if the CPU is there around more than 95% or 100% for a long time. That may cause reboot and all. So let's see what we have after this. Before learning about pre-upgrade planning, let me know if you have any question. I would be happy to answer.
We do. We have a question. And it is, can I go directly from 13 through 17? Fairly large instance, 2 terabytes, which means I don't want to do it 4 times, hosted on-prem.
Okay. Okay. So let me answer this question. Let me share my screen here. Just give me a minute. Google Chrome.
Okay.
So I have written a blog, say if you search for PostgreSQL 12 end of life, and I have written a AWS CLI command that will tell you that where I can find the how I can find the target version for given. Let me see here. If I can. Are you able to see my screen?
I am. You're on Google now.
Okay. All right. PostgreSQL 12 and EOL blog. So let's see this one. So in the blog, I have just where did it go? This one. Okay. So if you come down a little bit, I have written a CLI command. For example, Aurora PostgreSQL 12.22. You can find that what are the target versions. In the same way, if you have PostgreSQL 13, you can find the target version. You can skip some of those. But for RDS and Aurora, it's straightforward. Need to go with the CLI command and find that which version you can skip. It's very important when you skip some of the version in the middle, go through the release notes of all of the versions, making sure that you are comfortable with all those major changes throughout these major versions.
Great. Thank you so much.
Mhm. Is there any other question?
No, just a response that says perfect, thanks. We'll look at the
Awesome.
blog.
Cool, cool. So while talking about, and I also learned about there in the question, there was a thing that fairly large database. So that's the thing that if you have a large database, it's important to do testing thoroughly. I can tell you about Aurora and RDS. In the case of RDS, if you have a large database and then you have the high write activity, the upgrade can take longer time because during the upgrade, like we mentioned, that it will take the pre-upgrade backup. That means any changes has been done from the last automated backup that will be backed up. If you are using RDS PostgreSQL, you can take the manual backup and then you can go to the upgrade window. If you are using Aurora PostgreSQL, you don't need to take any backup because Aurora PostgreSQL has the continuous backup every 5 minutes. It backs up the Aurora log records in S3. If you are using community PostgreSQL, you need to use your own backup method to back up the database and then upgrade it. I always recommend to have the cluster ready of the older version in the case of applications are not performing well with the higher version. You can always come back to the older version as the fallback option. Let me know if you have any follow-up question on this one. I would be happy to discuss more. Awesome. So let's learn about pre-upgrade planning. So one thing is for sure that aware of make yourself aware of the end of life timelines. For example, you can search on the Google Calendar and then see that. Let me show you that quickly how to find the Google Calendar. I will bring my Chrome here. Let me search for this one, Postgres and live. All right. So versioning policy. Are you able to see my Chrome
I
browser?
am versioning
Awesome.
policy.
Exactly. So I would definitely recommend to come to this page. And for example, I can show you that 13 has the release date on September 2020, while the final release, that means end of life, that would be November 2025. 12 had the release date of 2019, and then it had the end of life on 2024. Aurora and RDS, they give you a few more months on the top of that. So for example, 12 had the end of life in February this year, and 13 Postgres would have the end of life for Aurora and RDS February next year, so that you will have some more times after the uh, community Postgres thing. So bookmark this one and make sure to plan well ahead. That's the first thing I want to recommend. Version compatibility check, like I mentioned, that major versions may break your application because new features has been added, data type supported might have been changed, or the column properties in the system catalogs might have changed. So make sure that you check your application with the higher version. What I do generally that I will take the PG dump, I will restore on the higher version, and then I will run my application on the higher version. You can use JVM or any kind of the other mechanism where you can test your database traffic, making sure that your database is performing better compared to the older version. Database size assessment is very important. If you are using PG upgrade with using the new data cluster, that means you need to have the similar data size on the same cluster if you are using PG upgrade, not using the link option. For example, if your data size is 100 gig, so you may need to have similar size available on your disk so that you can run the PG upgrade. Backup strategy, we discussed about certain backup strategies like logical replication, PG backup, PG dump, PG restore. In the case of Aurora and RDS PostgreSQL, there are multiple options. One is the in-place upgrade, one is the blue-green deployment, one is the DMS. So make sure to create a runbook or understand that which strategy is best fit for you, because strategies may vary from the size of the database or the downtime what you can have it. For an example, if you want to save the downtime to 30 minutes to 5 minutes, it is possible in the cloud native databases, but it may require more resources. For example, creating the DMS task, managing DMS, or setting up the logical replication. And if you don't have PostgreSQL resources, then it may take, it would be critical to set up all these environments. So it's all about the resources versus simplicity. In the open source PostgreSQL, dump restore is the simplest way. In the cloud native like in AWS, in place upgrade, managed one is the simplest one. So that is about the strategy. Backup is about having the fallback option. Make sure to take the backup if you are using the community PostgreSQL so that you have the fallback option. There are certain other ways also. Some people have the, if you have any replica or standby, you can use later on that one as the fallback option too. Environment setup, this one we have discussed that depending on the complexity, depending that which strategy you are going, make sure that you have the similar environment in all your staging, testing, and prod environments, so that you will build your confidence while upgrading from all these environments, testing, staging, and to the production environment. Performance baseline, it's very important to create a performance baseline for the lower version and then the higher version, so that you can see the difference, that how your database is performant while upgrading your database, while going from lower version to the higher version. The expectation is that your database should perform better in the higher versions, because PostgreSQL generally they add new features on the higher versions. So it's all about the features as well as performance itself. For an example, PostgreSQL 15 in logical application, they brought the new functionality of filtering on the column and in the row also. So that's how you need to learn about the features looking at the PostgreSQL release notes. Let me show you quickly that how to see the PostgreSQL release notes. So let me open this one. This one, okay. So PostgreSQL 16 release notes. So if I'm DBA, I would for sure go through these release notes and understand that what's happening in the new version. On my right hand side, you can also go through the minor version updates. That this was the first one, and then the last one so far was 16.8. So you can see that what new things has been added in this minor version. In the minor versions, mostly you will see the CV and the security patches. Like this one, 16.8 is taking care of CV 1094. So it's very important to understand the baseline, and then the last thing is the dependency audit. Your applications, so this one is more important about the customers who are using, or users who are using ISV vendors. For example, if you are using a particular product or service which requires the older version of the PostgreSQL. So this may stop you upgrading your database, but it is a good time to ask your vendor that can they update their product to support the higher version of PostgreSQL. So these kind of audit you need to keep running among your ISV vendors. ISV stands for independent software vendors. So make sure that they support the higher versions of the PostgreSQL. That's how you would not stuck with the older versions of the PostgreSQL that may lead missing some of the new features. Any questions so far about the pre-upgrade planning?
Yes.
Awesome.
One about
That's,
upgrade planning. So, how far ahead of an upgrade should I start planning? What kind of timeline should I anticipate during implementation?
that's a very good question. And that's a very common question also. And let me tell you a quick story here about AWS. So in AWS, after the end of life, the databases go in the Amazon RDS extended support. That comes with little additional cost that helps the database engineering team to maintain those end of life PostgreSQL versions. So this is the one financial impact if you don't upgrade timely your databases, Aurora and RDS PostgreSQL. For example, if you didn't upgrade your Aurora and PostgreSQL version 12, they are in extended support from March 1st this year. So I was trying to mention that how important it is to plan beforehand. So the answer is around that how big is your environment? For example, being DBA, if I am only managing 10 databases, so it will be fairly simple 10 databases I can do one by one and then upgrade it. I have met with some customers, they are maintaining a fleet of 300 databases. So there is no thumb rule here, but it's always good to look at the release notes and see that when is your end of life. And then generally speaking, what DBAs do that they plan in a way from lower levels to the higher level go through. So if I'm DBA, I would go through the release notes and then I will match one to one with my application's need. For example, this data type is not supported, or this new feature has comes up in logical replication. Do I need it? Yes. If I use logical replication, do I need to do any changes in the application? So application development that takes generally longer time to apply those features and innovations in the higher versions. If you don't do it, your applications still work, but you might be missing those to use those new features. For an example, talking about indexes from version 10 to 12, indexes size has been reduced by 80% or more, but you have to rebuild your indexes while coming out of the PostgreSQL 10. So if you don't go through the release notes, you may miss this thing that you need to rebuild your indexes, and then you may miss the new performance improvement because of the index size reduction. So the answer of this question that how long before I should prepare, it depends on the size of your fleet, how many databases you are doing, and look at the release notes, how much time you have for the end of life. Get the support from your leadership team, your development team, and the DBA team, and make a framework timeline that how you are going to upgrade your all these environments in your organization. Is there any part I missed for this question, or is there any other question I can answer? Let's
Well,
say.
just to follow up here,
Uh-huh.
how would you approach your leadership team about this planning? Because it
Awesome.
seems like a lot of leadership teams just want the
Very good.
database to
Yeah.
work and not think about it.
Awesome. So before joining AWS, I was DBA for a variety of companies, Rackspace, VMware, InfoUSA, Consilium One. So I can tell you from my PostgreSQL DB experience for more than 12 years, whenever I talk about upgrade, then I talk about the downtime. Leadership, generally, they are not happy that why do you need the downtime and all. So I would suggest to write one pager. One pager is the term of Amazon. You can also call it write a documentation that what if you don't upgrade it, why it's important to upgrade, and how much downtime you are going to look at, and little bit about that what kind of help you are asking to your management team. For example, if I have a website and for downtime, you may need to have the preparation in the advancement, like 1 month advance or more, a flag that this maintenance window will start from this time, and then we have 2 days more for this kind of. So that's how you will let your management know that the upgrade is important, and then I'm going to upgrade the database. This is the expectation. All right,
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
cool. So we are, yep, we have still 10, 15 minutes. So let's see how much we can cover. Minimizing downtime. We discussed about that in order to minimize downtime, we have multiple options. But while looking at the minimizing downtime, you already learn about the logical application, DMS, or trigger-based systems. You need to also practice that how to do the control switchover. That means if you are promoting the newer database, say that logical application, make sure that the applications are now pointing to the new IP of the hardware. So make sure that you run the IP flush on the application side. Also, if you have the time to live TTL on your application side for IP, reduce that one so that it can identify the resolved IP quickly. That is the control switchover. Because on your database side, maybe switchover can take a minute, but due to the IP resolution or IP caching, it may feel longer at the application side. Connection pooling, if you are using PG pool or PG bouncer or RDS proxy, any kind of the connection pooling, make sure to test it out with the higher version. It is working good. It is giving you the expected performance. Phased migration, we talked about, start with the lower version to the higher version. Keep your eyes on the KPIs, the key performance indicators, that where do you see that the performance is going up or down, what things you can fix. And increasingly, once you go from the lower to the higher version, make sure to fix those things and to have the better upgrade experience. Data validation. Generally speaking, I have never seen any data corruption or anything because of the PG upgrade or RDS Postgres upgrade, but just to have it in your runbook, you can do the quick select count all or MD5 check if you want to do the data validation. If you have the smaller data size, being DB experience, I can tell you, you can use PG dump. What PG dump does that it will touch your each data pages. If it is corrupted, it will give you the message that this particular block has been corrected. You can also use vacuum on a table that also touches the each data page. These are some of the options of what you can use to validate the data that no corruption has been happened due to the upgrade. And make sure that rollback option is ready. Generally speaking, in PG upgrade utility, you can have the old cluster, that PG data directory, or if you have a standby pre-created, that can be used as the rollback option. In RDS and Aurora PostgreSQL, if you have a replica, that can be used as a rollback option. If or else, you also have the access to the pre-upgrade backup that can also be used as the rollback option, where you can restore that snapshot or backup, and that can be used as the rollback option. This is the RDS blue-green deployment. What it does that it will create the similar environment in the original is called the blue one, and then the similar environment is called the green one, which is on the higher version. It would set up the replication from the lower to the higher version, from blue to the green. And later on, you can manually do the switchover. So AWS takes care of the switching the new IP and then changing the endpoint URL so that the applications don't require any changes. And that's how you will do the blue-green deployment. Like I mentioned, that it might have certain limitations, like having the primary keys on the all tables. So make sure to go through the limitations. PostgreSQL testing and validation. Make sure that after upgrade, you do some testing and validation, making sure that your upgrade went well. Under that, you can do the look at your security group or IP firewall. It is good on the new server. Your applications are functionally doing good. Parameters monitoring setup is as good as your previous database. You are not missing anything on the new server if you are using Sensui or any kind of the monitoring, or in the case of RDS PostgreSQL, if you have set up particular kind of the CloudWatch monitoring or alarm, make sure that those are also set up on the newer database. So when I created this slide deck, PostgreSQL 17 was not available, 16 was available. So I created some of the set of the PostgreSQL 16 upgrade benefits. I can discuss quickly, but let me know if you have any questions. I would like to answer before I finish all these in around 5 minutes.
No new questions have come in.
Awesome, awesome. So in PostgreSQL 16, there was the new optimization in the query planner that will help to increase the performance of your database workload. The new workload option was added in PostgreSQL 16. This is applicable to both single and concurrent operations using copy command. So in PostgreSQL, copy command is the way where you can export and import the data. Starting from PostgreSQL 16, tools that utilize libpq, such as pSQL, now they also support for load balancing at the connection level. A new option has been added to the utility that is called load balance hosts, which can be used for load balancing. So this is the one example. Unless you know this add-on in this feature, you may miss to use it. So please go through the release notes and then understand that what new features has been added to utilize those. Also in PostgreSQL 16, performance boost also comes from the introduction of CPU acceleration through SIMD technology for both x86 and ARM architectures, and GIN indexes access optimizer cost. In the case of logical replication, now starting from PostgreSQL 16, this is the one of the most favorite add-on happened on 16, that is the bidirectional replication. This will let you achieve the multi-master kind of the environment. Bidirectional was there as the extension, but now it's the part of the core PostgreSQL. In the community PostgreSQL, you can have the bidirectional replication. That is the new added features on logical replication. Logical application also can be supported from the standby, not yet in RDS PostgreSQL. And there are some performance improvements done in the logical replication. If you want to deep dive, I would certainly recommend to go to the release notes and see that what are those changes has been done. If you are interested in the monitoring using the PostgreSQL database or features of PostgreSQL itself instead of the external monitoring technologies, there has been a new way to monitor IO metrics, and there are some new columns has been or attributes has been added to the pgstat IO tables as well as pgstat all indexes. The column or the attribute name is last sequential scan or last index scan. There are some added features in the security also. PostgreSQL 16 introduces the security focused client connection parameter. It also introduces the require auth function that empowers the clients to specify the authentication parameters they are willing to accept with the server. Talking about security, it's important to note that PostgreSQL 16 also has added support for Kerberos credential delegation. So all these things you can learn more from the release notes and community blogs. I had a quick benchmarking which I did between PostgreSQL 12 and 13. Let me finish quickly and then show you that what I found from the benchmarking. I use pgbench, that is the tool, generally acceptable tool in PostgreSQL to do the benchmarking. Before that, I made sure to reboot the both databases so that I don't have anything in the shared buffer or any kind of the other buffer. So as you can see that pgstat all tables, it has certain new attributes, and then the one which was added in 16, that was the last sequential scan. In the same way, if you look at the pgstat all indexes, it has added new attributes, and then the one which in this version is last index scan. It is very important this timestamp to help you to understand that how long when the last scan was happened on this table, so that you can delete that index if it is not being used properly. PGStat.io, this is the system catalog which helps you for the IO monitoring. Like we discussed, if you wanna monitor the IOs using the inbuilt features, so that I would definitely recommend to look at. Specifically in the cloud native databases such as Aurora and RDS, where you don't have the access to the host, where you cannot run the IO commands, this could be useful for you to monitor your IO uses. So this is the PG bench I am running on 12 and 15. Let me go a little bit up here and tell you that the TPS was found 2,489, while in the 16 version it was 2,600. So around 7% better what I found in PostgreSQL 16. But once again, it was based on very simple database, low size database around 150 gig. But if you go with the larger database, it may scale to the higher performance gain. Thank you, slide. And then let's see. Let's come back here. Okay, so these are some of the resources I would definitely recommend to go through, specifically about AWS side for Aurora and RDS. End of life announcements. You may need to subscribe repost of AWS to get aware of the end of life announcements. I have written certain blogs about the best practices of RDS and Aurora Postgres upgrades. Please make sure to go with that. With that, let me know if you have any question. I would be happy to answer.
So, no new questions, but quite a few thank yous
Yeah,
in
please.
the
Thank you.
chat. So, this has been really great. Um,
Awesome. And please make sure to scan this QR code and connect with me on LinkedIn. I would be happy to help you if you have any further questions.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, first of all, thank you, Vivek. I really,
Awesome.
really do appreciate this. This was so detailed and thought out.
My,
I can tell the effort you put in. So, thank you for that.
my pleasure. Thank you.
Similarly to our audience, thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with us. We hope to see you on future Postgres conference webinars and be in touch. If you'd like to present, if you'd like to give feedback, we would love to hear from you. So, regardless of where you are, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.